of a review on the Zenit Longboard, which is this is the double kick that I ride. Yeah, I've had this board for about a year. I really like it. Yeah, I thought I'd just talk about it a little bit. So like I said, this is the double kick from Zenit Longboards. I've got the V2. I believe this is discontinued and they now have the V3, but it's very similar. It's basically the same board. I think it even has basically the same graphic, just in a different, like they swapped the colors or something. That's cool. Yeah, so this is a double kick board. It is 34 inches long, 9.1 inches wide. It's got wheelbase options of 16.25 to 18.75. This deck's pretty stiff for a short board. It's made of Canadian maple and fiberglass. So really stiff. It's like a downhill board construction, basically. Yep, it's got mellow concave. I'm trying to show you, but you can probably see a little bit. Mellow concave, which is nice. Definitely more concave than you get on a street deck or a regular cruiser. It's got sliding in mind when they designed this. It's got these cool wheel flares on the front and the back, which are really nice for locking in. I mostly use it on the front, for my front foot. In the back, I actually put my back foot more on the kick in the pocket, and so you use the other side of the flare and makes this nice pocket, which is cool. The deck also has wheel wells, so you can run bigger wheels if you want. You know, you could fit full-size freeride wheels if you wanted for freeriding. Maybe even some like smaller cruisy square lip wheels for pump tracks or cruising around town. Wheel bites just not really a thing with this board, especially when you're running TKPs. Yeah, I run this board with Paris 169 TKPs. The reason I went with Paris a few years ago was they're sort of a surfier TKP truck. So you get quite a lot of lean and surf kind of feel from them, which I prefer, coming from longboarding rather than street skating. I'm running Pee-wees right now from Remember. Most of the time I've been riding this board, I've actually had snakes on it though. I like having the slipperier wheels on the short board because when you get that shorter wheelbase it gets grippier, and on a board like this I'm mostly doing stand-up slides anyway, so having slippery wheels just feels good for sliding and slashing and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mostly use this board for cruising when I hit the pump track, and I really like doing a little bit of freeride and, like I said, city slashing style skating. So stand-up slides, skating down footpaths, sidewalks, same thing. Yeah, slashy street kind of vibe. I am sure this board would be great in the park or for street skating, but that's not the kind of skater that I am. Riding it in a bowl and that kind of stuff I haven't really done, but if I was to do it I would use this board. This is the board that I would use for that. So it's really meant to be like an all-rounded deck in that kind of realm of skating, and I really like it. I think it's really good. One of the cool things that I like about this board is it is pretty wide. It's like I said, it's 9.1 inches wide. It's the width of a lot of downhill boards these days, and the reason I think that's good for me is, like I said, my background is in longboarding. That's how I got into skating originally, was cruising around and on a long, wide board, not street skating. So getting on a short board on a short wheelbase and like these kicks and street kind of stuff is very foreign to me, and I actually feel a lot more comfortable on this wider deck than I do on a narrow deck. I've ridden street decks a little bit. I've had a couple of different double kicks, and when you go small I just feel kind of strange, whereas this board it's so wide that I feel comfortable. Even my ollies are okay on this board. So that's probably something to note, that if you're a skater that's come from longboarding and cruising and you're looking into a short board, that's an aspect of the board you might want to think about. I don't think it's to do with my shoe size or height. I'm not overly tall or don't have like crazy big feet or anything like that. I'm used to a bigger board, so when I shorten the wheelbase, I don't actually want to narrow the width too much, which is really interesting, but something that I think is significant for going to this style of deck. Yeah, I guess the only real con I can think of this board is that because it is made with the Canadian maple and fiberglass, it's very stiff. So that makes it good for sliding and popping ollies and that kind of stuff. But if you're just cruising around town and you have wheels like these little hard peewees or snakes, it's pretty stiff and you really feel the vibrations. So if you're more leaning towards cruising around and pump tracks and that kind of stuff, maybe you'll want to go with something a little bit flexier. But honestly, I don't really mind it. I've cruised around plenty on this board without putting softer wheels on. It's not a big deal. It's just something that I did notice. And if you're going to use it for both and you know you're going for like a day of cruising, then maybe you could put softer wheels or soft risers on it. But yeah, it's just, you know, you got trade-offs. If you want to have a board that's better for free riding, it's not going to be as smooth or soft for cruising. So yeah, I use this board all the time for all sorts of things, like cruising, slashing. If I don't know what I'm doing on a day, I'll bring this board with me just in case there's like a footpath or a cool feature or something to hit. It's just really versatile for all those kind of things. I really want to take this board back home with me whenever I can go back and visit New Zealand, because I really want to go and skate in Auckland on the sidewalks again. I never really got to get into that too much, and now that I've got my stand-up slides both ways like really down on this board, that would just be so much fun. There's not a whole lot of that around here. The footpath cracks are really bad, but yeah, that would be something cool to go and do. So I would recommend this board to probably people more coming from, like I said, that longboard, cruising, downhill background and looking into getting into the street, like city slasher kind of skating. I think this one would be good, and mostly because of that wide thing, and it's designed from a company that is downhill in mind. Like the structure of the board, the construction, just everything about it has like sliding in mind. If you're wanting to cruise around, if you want to hit pump tracks, if you want to do those sort of things, this is going to be a really good board for that. But I don't know if I would say it's the best. I wouldn't know what is the best, but I would say like, if you're not going to slide, you're not going to street skate, maybe you want something with more flex, or maybe you want something a little bit longer. If you want something really small, that's the other thing. This board isn't too small. I think it's actually longer and about the same width as the MIDI. It's just got a shorter wheelbase because it's double kick. You know, like I have it up on my board rack, and it's basically the same size as my downhill board. So if you're wanting something small and compact, like you're just going to campus or riding the bus all the time, this isn't actually a very small deck. So you might want to keep that in mind. But yeah, I like it. I'm going to be using this for a while. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted in a double kick board. Now I kind of need to tune my trucks because I don't really know what I'm doing with that. But as far as the board goes, I've tried a few different things. I started on a street deck and tried to just freeride that, and that was alright, but it didn't really work. And then I went to a much bigger, much wider double kick, and that kind of didn't work for the opposite end of the scale. And then, like I said, I was on a loaded coyote for a bit, and that was really narrow. And this seems to be where I've landed, and I'm really happy with this board. Yeah, the Zenit Morning Wood. It's good. It's a good board.